If you were to ask me what my favorite type of horror film was, I will always give you the same answer. I love the 80s. To me, that's the golden era for horror. So many classic films and franchises were birthed in the 80s. I'll watch it all. Slashers, possessions, space clowns, killer dolls, you name it. I was raised on those type of movies. Although Night of the Living Dead and Halloween were directly responsible for my love of horror, it's films like Child's Play and Reanimator that shook me at my core. Watching them at a young age was shocking and terrifying. It was a decade of excess. Not only were the body counts bigger, but the special effects were very balls to the wall. The film that I'm about to review is a brand new documentary that covers 80s horror. It's a 4-hour sequel to one of the greatest documentaries ever made.
The following film has been rated R restricted by the motion picture industry's rating system. Showtime recommends that children under 17 view this picture only in the company of an adult.
I really enjoyed the original In Search of Darkness. That 4-hour documentary covered so many classics that we all know and love, all while digging deep into why we love to watch these movies in the first place. It's an essential documentary that teaches you the fundamentals of horror and how viewing such films can be a form of escapism. Oftentimes, horror films can be a stress reliever, and I think that's what makes the genre so popular. Horror films are one hell of a thrill ride.
I have come here to chew bubblegum and kick ass.
Let's dance. My name is Gorey.
I watched In Search of Darkness on Shudder. Even with the amount of content the documentary has, it still felt like there was much more that needed to be covered. Thankfully, we now have In Search of Darkness Part 2.
Friends and associates, how nice to see you again.
Is everybody getting scared?
I love to be frightened.
I'm so happy that we have a new documentary, because I can't get enough 80s horror. Seriously, I could watch these movies all day. In Search of Darkness 2 brings back most of, if not all, the talking heads from the original, along with a few new yet familiar faces, featuring interviews from genre icons, makeup effects artists, horror YouTubers, and industry journalists. And hey, Tom Savini is in this one.
The 80s was the splatter decade. That was my decade.
This new documentary is incredible. If I could describe just how amazing this is the analogy I would use. If the original documentary was Evil Dead, this one is Evil Dead 2.
Groovy.
In Search of Darkness 2 is structurally the same as the original, where a large group of films are covered from year to year, starting in 1980 and ending in 1989.
They're here.
Only this time, Part 2 digs deeper into 80s horror by spotlighting more sequels and international releases. In between the yearly roster, we get awesome segments that talk about acting, comedy, and children of horror, as well as spotlights on Nancy Allen, Linnea Quigley, Tom Savini, and much, much more.
Gives me chills thinking about it.
This documentary covers a lot, and I learned so much from the 4-hour plus runtime. My favorite segments of the documentary focus heavily on the unpredictable nature of Italian horror films, meaning we get to learn more about the works of directors like Dario Argento, Lamberto Bava, and Lucio Fulci. The star-studded cast explains which movies terrified them the most, and why these films have a massive cult following. Some of the movies featured are ones that I've never seen before, so on top of learning new behind-the-scenes stories, I get to add more movies to my must-watch list. Once again, the soundtrack is provided by Weary Pines. I'm obsessed with new retro wave, so the music laid out by Weary Pines is incredible to listen to, and it fits perfectly with the theme of this documentary. The quality of the interviews are terrific, and the high-def movie clips that go along with the interviews are gorgeous. As someone who edits their own videos, I was in awe over how well this documentary was pieced together. I hope to reach that level of professionalism someday.
Hey kids! Welcome to prime time!
I cannot recommend this documentary enough. I breezed through those 4 hours without any fatigue, and I highly recommend that you purchase a physical copy of this for yourself. This is a must-own, and I encourage all of you to head over to 80shorrordoc.com and buy the Blu-ray. Each Blu-ray is made to order, and there's a flash sale going on right now until the 14th. Honestly, I have no negative thing to say about this. I loved every single second of this documentary, and I will always cherish the amount of joy it brought me.
This is amazing.